Sacagawea. I love that.
Yeah, actually, that was a libretto that I wrote for a project earlier this year and sang in and sort of directed the film. But I was just supposed to be the librettist.
I know, but you put your whole heart in it, and then
I
it's
did.
yeah, that's
I did.
awesome.
Yeah.
No, I was reading through your career, and we can put this in, as part of the interview too. But I was reading through your career, and you have one of those careers of the less traveled soprano who has managed to do all the roles she wanted to do. It seemed to me, at least from reading your CV, lots of great roles,
Yeah.
opportunities in your career, and I particularly loved that song, "The Mission."
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, I was like, oh, she sang that. I love that one because I cover soundtracks. Well, I used to cover soundtracks for MTV, so
Oh,
I covered that song. So it was like, oh, that's her.
that's so neat. That's amazing because I just it was one of Jerry Goldsmith's last scores, and it was just such an honor
Oh,
to be
he's
part of
genius.
that, and I just adored him, and still have limited contact with his wife, and I hate to say widow, it's a terrible word, but she's a wonderful, beautiful, delightful, light-filled person, and every time I get to talk to her or sing her birthday party or something, it just makes me remember him and that experience. So it was a blessing. It took a very short amount of time of my life to do it because these things you record them in about 15 minutes, but it's been a real lasting thing that I'm really proud of.
No, it's funny. My voice teacher was Giorgio Tozzi, and he
Oh,
famously covered South Pacific, right?
yes.
For Bratko, who couldn't sing. He wanted to, but he couldn't sing. So they brought in Giorgio, and he recorded the entire thing in one day. The whole thing, the whole show, the whole.
Well, the pros. You got to get the pros.
That's right. He didn't even expect that, though. He was like, "Oh, we're just going to sing it." Yes.
That's a perfect example. Yeah, that's exactly what he probably did.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
oh, let me la 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 la. Yes, I'm ready.
Exactly. Bases.
Oh, oh,
No slight there, Zachary.
yeah,
But
no.
but anyway, we're gathered here today, Classical Archives audience,
In the
with
sight of the opera gods.
that's right, with Shauna Blake Hill, who will be singing the role of Norma at Festival Opera here in July, and we are accompanied by the wonderful artistic director of Festival Opera, who is mounting this Norma. Norma in the Bay, if you will, and so it's very exciting to meet you both and talk about it because Norma is just one of my favorite operas. I told the chief in editor that we were doing this interview, and he said, "Oh, well, I'm just going to do a Norma playlist. I'll do a whole vlog on my favorite Normas throughout history." And I was like,
Love it.
fantastic. Okay, great. Yeah, he was all about it. So let me start with you, Zachary. So you chose Norma for the Festival Opera, which is not a large company, right? But this is a big opera with big voice and and beautiful expectations in the bel canto world. So what were you thinking when you decided, hey, I think we should do Norma?
The really short version is I was thinking about the voices that were going to do it. I've heard Blake sing Casta Diva a number of times in really exquisite performances. And I just thought, Festival Opera's been doing American opera for the past couple of seasons that we've been able to perform. And so bel canto is a big piece of my heart. And so I wanted to do what I think is a really faithful reading and showing of the opera in a way that is completely new, incorporates elements of high fashion and Middle Earth imagery. Some very cool things are going to be happening with this production, but the core of the whole thing is the singing and the voices that are going to do it. And we're so lucky to have this cast.
Wow.
So
yeah, all great voices, and you beefed up your chorus a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, we have 30 soloists. in the chorus. They're all
Wow.
spectacular.
That's
Yeah.
going to be some sound.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you also pitched it kind of as an epic political story of great drama, which I adore, because that's really what it is. You know, yeah. So I mean, is that kind of part of your production aspect a little bit?
And
A
it is
little,
not unlike what is going on all around us right now.
Well, it's quite amazing, because the last time I was fortunate enough to be with this company, we did Susanna, and Susanna sort of took place kind of squarely within the Me Too movement. And we're now, looking at reproductive rights and a rift between cultures and radical feminism and intersectional thinking. And I mean, this opera just sits at the heart of the clash of cultures, the clash of the sexes, reproductive freedom, the cult of virginity. All of these things are just kind of roiling in this encounter between human beings, and so often people say opera is melodramatic or unrealistic. There's nothing more realistic than a love triangle. I mean, everyone's also kind of hooked on true crime these days. And if you look at, watch Forensic Files or whatever it is that you like to do,
totally.
There's nothing more prevalent than the love triangle, especially where there are children involved.
Mm-hmm.
And, it drives people to truly desperate places, and places where they have to go and discover what integrity means for them, both as a person in the world and as a parent, as a partner, as a citizen.
Wow.
And I think that is what, when I started this role, I thought, I don't know how to encounter her in me until I'll know when I know. And I kind of kept searching for ways to connect to her. And then I realized it really is about integrity. She, at the end of this opera, is the only person who truly stands in her integrity.
And keeps her sanity, right? She knows what is what. This goes here, this goes here, these people do this, I am the one who made the error. I betrayed my own faith,
Truly.
Yeah.
And I made this bargain, whether or not it's fair to me, whether or not the fates are fair to me. I said that I was, when she says Norma non mente, right?
Mm-hmm.
Norma doesn't lie. And it takes her the whole opera to get to that moment where she gets to stand in her truth, mm-hmm. and finally say, son io, it's me, and Norma non mente. And everything after that is the truth about her life. And I think anybody who has had to stand up and say what's true about them, especially when it puts them in danger, when it is unpopular, when it demotes them in some way or changes the course of their life, there is a freedom and a loneliness in that moment, mm-hmm. that truly changes lives.
Yeah, talk about the ultimate coming out, right? Right, exactly. It's kind of crazy. It reminds me of that experience in coming out. I'm not a chaste virgin, but
coming out as her own woman. I am coming out as not just a seer and a divine creature and an avenging goddess, but mm-hmm. I am a complete and human woman.
Yeah.
And this is my truth.
I think that's the stark beauty of the final end of the opera in some ways, because you get that, it is a Götterdämmerung ending, because it is a new era, blending together these cultures and the blasphemy that comes about from that, or the changing of rules, or breaking of rules, and that's one of the things about, even in 1832, that was an issue, right? We had post-Napoleon Europe was a nightmare. It was really the arts that kind of kept things going, for that romantic period after that era, and false imperialism, but that's another show.
Completely. And it's interesting that this is, the play is a French kind of epic poem, from this, you know, one of Napoleon's favorite epic poets, you know, who had this big hit about Joan of Arc at the time.
Yeah.
And you know, they take this and make this quintessential Italian libretto. So we're getting this druidic princess filtered through the lens of the Latin male Catholic gaze, right?
Right.
But she still, you know, emerges victorious in a way, which I think is such, you know, that this is what I love about the opera diva, the true diva archetype, is that no matter how you try to throw her off parapets and throw her down and call her names and throw money at her or whatever, in the end, she's always resurrected as the most powerful mover of lives and action and hearts, right? Yeah. She always emerges victorious, whether she's victorious in the plane of existence or beyond, she always emerges victorious, even if she just is victorious in moving hearts and minds, right? And that it redeems the divine feminine archetype over and over again. No matter what they do to her, she always rises.
Well, and that's what I love what Bellini does with this libretto and with the text, because he balances pathos with complete religious devotion. True. In a way that makes you see her soul, right?
Exactly.
Because when she is speaking to her goddess, it is a different tone. It is a chaste tone. It's this beautiful tone, and it is who she is.
Intimate,
extremely. And you know, take this huge arias and make them all of a sudden very intimate, and in reverse, because there's plenty of pathos between the love triangle,
and
right?
Anger,
and
rage,
you
know,
and a handing of the torch, you know, to Adalgisa, right? It's kind of like, oh, well, you're next.
Or it's even, I think of it really, a handling of the torch is a little, yeah, here, light my pyre. But also I think it's in my internal interpretation of her decision to step forward, it's not just integrity, and she knows she's taking Pollione with her, and she's solving a problem. Like, he's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. If not her, Adalgisa. If not Adalgisa, someone else. There is someone else. There's another feminine heart and peace of mind that he is poised, you know, like an armor-piercing bullet in the direction of, right? He is just going to keep doing this, probably for the rest of his life. And she knows this about him. And she takes care of the problem.
Right.
You know, you can love someone and also, you know that they're a problem. And kind of, it's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit, you know, I guess the villain falls from a height, but takes the other villain with them, right? It's the losers going over the cliff together, right, locked in combat. She knows that in sacrificing herself, she can make sure that he is removed from the equation, and, you know, maybe a few generations of future priestesses will not be in danger of him.
Right. Maybe there'll be change in the future by her noble deeds.
Maybe,
yeah. What'd you say, Zachary? I'm sorry.
She has true leadership. She's seen it all through.
That's right. Absolutely.
I brought this problem here. I engaged with the problem. The problem, you know, leaked into my peaceful community, and I am going to remove the problem and myself at the same time.
Yeah. Wow. Zachary, tell us a little bit about some of the other singers.
Okay. So Adalgisa is going to be sung by Ashley Dixon, who I got to meet and hear plenty when she was in the Bay Area, working through the Merola Opera Program, an Adler Fellowship at San Francisco Opera, and some time at Opera San Jose as well. And I just thought, you know, pairing these two voices together in that duet is just going to be delicious. Dane Suarez will sing Pollione, and he's another really fine singer who spent some time in the Bay Area. He was a resident at Opera San Jose for a while, and has sung for me many times, and just this glorious, glorious voice, and it's absolutely the right repertoire for him. And then Kevin Thompson is coming back to Festival Opera. He also went through the Merola Opera program at SF Opera, and we had him in Abduction for the Seraglio when we did this sort of Star Trek themed production.
Oh, I loved that.
So that was a blast. So the cast of principals is super solid. I'm very, very excited to get them all together. And then rounding out the cast is Marcus Page will sing Flavio, and Lily Bogus Clotilda. And then our orchestra and chorus, as we said, they're just stellar. I mean, the musical values are going to be sky high, and we're all going to have a great time doing it. So
I'm sure they're very excited.
I'm bursting.
Yeah. Well, I guess knowing how tight the community is, I'm sure everyone's just really thrilled. It's not, you don't always get the big gun operas every, so it's really nice to be able to do it, and throw your heart at it, right?
All of it.
all of the heart. I know.
All of the heart.
Well, and for you in particular, this role, you, by the time the thing is over, we're all a wreck watching what you go through to fix this situation that you perpetuated, right? And using the goddess as a guidance. But Bellini, he didn't take it easy on you. It's one of the longest roles in the repertoire. I think it was Lotte Lehmann who famously said that she would sing Brunhilde 3 times in one night, as opposed to one or Norma, just because it's such a athletic, incredibly complex role. Are you excited about that challenge?
I am, and I'm currently engaged in it. Of course, you have to work your way up to it. And I'm sort of in the run through this week stage of really figuring out, the role is in me now, and now I'm kind of planning my race.
Mm-hmm.
Like where do you push the gas pedal, and where do you cruise a little bit, and because it's so many different colors and emotions. Bellini is so good to her. He's hard on her, but he's so good to her because he gives her every single crayon in the crayon box.
Yeah.
You have every one of them at your disposal. And if you can be present enough and athletic enough to really use them, it is the most gratifying thing that you can imagine. And that's really what I want most. Well, I want 2 things. I want people to feel the modernity of her in their own lives. I want people to walk away with a sense of themselves, or of a truly modern woman at a crossroads in her life. I don't want them to feel like they've, been to a pageant of a far off land. I want them to really feel viscerally her message.
Yeah.
Which is take responsibility and change course if you can, and stand up for what you believe in. Now is the time, right? This is the crossroads.
Yeah.
And secondly, I want to enjoy the hell out of it. I don't want to be scared. I don't want to be overly focused. I want to be loose and in it, and I want to drink every drop of this experience, because if it's anything we know about, just having come through this pandemic and being in this career, you don't know what is promised.
Right.
You know what is currently on your plate, and you just relish every moment of it, because every time a downbeat happens in an opera house, it's a gift.
Yeah, it is
for everyone concerned. And the more you are present for that and arrive in every step of that process, the more I truly feel it will have something nutritious to give when we get to that final stage where we share it with an audience.
Totally. These operas were written for the singers of the time, right? Back then, they wrote the operas for the singer. This was written for Giuditta Pasta, right? A very famous voice of the time, and it's written tailored to her voice, And I was thinking, before coming on with you all, that that's something we don't do today. They just write an opera for whoever can sing it, and I don't know if that works. We've been through that now for, 50 years, Zachary, of these American operas where they just write an opera and everyone's supposed to sing it. And it's just like, there's so many interesting singers today. It's like, why can't we write an opera for one? What's so wrong about that?
Well, I think it happens sometimes where a composer gets an inspiration from a singer that they've worked with, or, it does happen that things are commissioned for specific individuals, but it's not the general rule.
Not on a grand scale.
Yeah, not on a grand scale the way it used to be. I'm always looking for new ways to get operas written, because it just seems so difficult. Like, I'm so proud of Tobias Picker for finally getting his awakenings out there. He writes compelling, fun opera, engaging opera. Emmeline, I thought, was just so engaging. So, it's great to see him see him do that. But I'm always just like, why doesn't someone take someone, like a new emerging voice, and just really give them an opera, talk to them, create an opera out of their life, even. So I think we have an evolution here. And Norma, I don't know why Norma seems like a good one, because I guess this opera is timeless. It's going to always be appreciated as a piece of fine art, and I think it's because it was written specifically for someone that, Bellini loved women, as we know from these great operas,
It's evident that he not only loved women, but he knew women. Yeah. Because if one of the more challenging parts of learning this role, and one of the little beautiful secrets about diving into it, is that Bellini gives Norma both power and instability, in the fact that when the key changes and she's on stage, she changes the key. The orchestra does not, on average, change the key. If there is a key change made, Norma drives it. If there is, a long recitative, chances are you'll be major, minor by measure sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in a phrase, you'll be major, minor, because she's at this place where she's feeling everything, right? Yeah. And he gives her freedom to sing in every, in every tonality. Yeah. And really makes her the only person who does that. Everybody else has pretty regular, if they're in major, they're going to stay in major for a while. If they're in minor, they're going to stay in minor for a while. But Norma switches in and out. And it's because he knows how women feel things, that is I think a beautiful musical picture of this variegation of emotion, inside a woman's brain who is at this place.
Yeah, wonderful. Zachary, when and where? July 7th and 9th?
July 8th and 10th.
8th and 10th. See, I always get it wrong. This is becoming my hallmark as an interviewer. I'm always like, was that September 3rd and 9th? Well, no.
Yeah, July 8th and 10th at the Lesher Center for the Arts in Walnut Creek, California.
A beautiful performing arts center with lots of room. So everyone needs to go, because we need this art to be sold out, because it's not going to be performed in Walnut Creek probably for another century.
Probably.
Good possibility.
A good possibility, But who knows? Maybe they'll love it so much we can revive it and tour the country with it, like they did back in Italy. That would be
very nice. Yes.
Why not?
We're looking for that donor.
Yeah, that's right.
Sign up.
Come on, donor.
The link is in our bio.
Well, this has been a very entertaining conversation. Thank you both so much for your time today. And I am really looking forward to hearing great things about this Norma at Festival Opera, July
8th and 10th.
8th and 10th.